Well, under lockdown, level 3, children under 6 are not required to wear a mask in public. This is according to the recently amended Disaster Management Act, which was published on the 11th of January. Now, with so many questions still around the new coronavirus variant, is this the right decision? Now, joining us is health expert and CEO of Proactive Health Solutions, Dr. Fundile Nyati. Dr. Nyati, good to have you and good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think a lot of parents need clarity on this because we still see, young toddlers under the age of 6 wearing their masks. Why is it not necessary, according to the National Disaster Act, to do so?
Well, I think the National Disaster Act, is actually following from the advice that came from the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization has actually said, as much as it's desirable that everybody should take precautions, but for children under the age of 5 years old, they have come to a conclusion that, looking at all the data in terms of prevalence and the risk, but also the fact that, kids under that age tend not to put the masks, correctly. They think the risk of not putting the mask, isn't that much in that group, of children under the age of 5. However, they go further than to say for those kids who've got pre-existing health challenges, there are some conditions like cystic fibrosis and others. Then in such a case, the parents, talking to the doctor, may then agree that the child may use what we call surgical masks. But the cloth or, masks that we are advocating for everybody else, there isn't necessarily a need, because the biggest issue is it is a challenge for them to actually apply the mask correctly. And the risk isn't that much when you look at, the number of infections in that age bracket.
Right. So speaking of the risk, Dr. Nyati, are you saying that even in the second variant, which, widespread information and media has often said is a lot more deadly, it's a lot more infectious and contagious? I mean, are you still saying that the risk is still not as bad when it comes to those children under the age of 5?
Information that is coming through, because there's ongoing, review of, the trends. Even with the second variant, the advice has not changed from the WHO, and that's where, our guys are actually getting the guidance from, obviously, including our own, people from the, the Ministerial Advisory Committee.
Right. Let's then talk about, the issue around going to, creche and preschool, because a lot of, young toddlers, some of them, or at least most of them, are not going to creche or preschool at this time because parents feel that it might not be safe for them to do so. Because they can, we're still seeing, those medical reports and data showing that young children are still safe around this time. There isn't a lot of information showing that, the virus is deadly or even dangerous towards them. Can they still go to school? Do parents have absolutely nothing to worry about when it comes to the exposure of children at creches?
Look, again, when we're talking creches, we are still talking about the same age group, which is the under 5s. The same applies. I think the biggest issue really is around how practical, is for the kids to apply these masks, versus, the risk. I know of many teachers, who had to police the kids in the preschools, to make sure that they put on these masks all the time. But, majority of times, the kids would actually just throw it, on the side. They just, do not have that sense of responsibility to actually have these things and apply them, covering the nose, the mouth, up to the chin, as is recommended. So for me, I would actually say, looking at all, facts, there isn't really much of a risk that would make, me to say all kids, should not go to preschools because of the risk associated, with catching the coronavirus. But here we're talking about the under 5s. Right. Obviously, from the age 6, going up to about, age 12, there it's a slightly different matter. Those kids, are able to, to adhere and apply the masks, most of them. And then the WHO there says, depending on the assessment by the parent, in consultation with their family doctor, I think they should be able to apply the mask unless there is a problem. And then over the age of 12, up until about 16, then they say, there must be, the wearing of the mask all the time. So there's that differential approach. It's really about the practicality and the, assessing the risk in the various age brackets.
All right, Dr. Nyati, thank you so much for that clarity. That was health expert and CEO of Proactive Health Solutions, Dr. Fundile Nyati.